never got outdated. It never. It still sounds.
To me, this is the only Depeche Mode
dated.
that you can't pick what year it came out from unless you knew what year it came out from.
This could have came out in mid 2000s,
Easy.
which is
Easy.
10 years after it did.
It could have came out when Downward Spiral came out. It could have came out when Hate Machine came out. It could have came out when OK Computer came out. It doesn't matter.
You'd know it wasn't around the same time as Depeche Mode, Downward Spiral, only because of how clean the production is on it. And it's such a great album. It's so well produced.
Like it's Depeche Mode. This was Depeche Mode increasing their street cred.
I find it mad that I don't know much about this guy, and he produced Ultra.
Yeah,
and the producers they used before this,
he didn't do an awful lot else. He done loads of mad weird shit.
That's such a weird one. I'd love to know how they got on board with this guy.
Apparently they heard
just to mention the other time was that time that Flood was at a Depeche Mode concert. Because he got fucking shipped to all their concerts for free. That's how he met U2. So these guys are hanging around each other loads. But how did this guy?
Apparently, Tim done an album for Gavin Friday.
Gavin Friday, again, is another person that mixes in with the Brian Eno. Daniel Lanois.
So he done an album called Shag Tobacco. And apparently it sounded...
He's a Violent Femmes, by the way. Obviously.
So he heard fucking... Depeche Mode heard Shag Tobacco by Gavin
Violent
Friday.
Femmes? The Virgin Prunes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I caught that quickly because there's about 10 people that listen to this having a fucking aneurysm right now.
So Depeche Mode heard Shag Tobacco by Gavin Friday and they were like, that sounds really fucking interesting. By a guy who makes electronic music but dealing with like a traditional kind of style band. And they signed them up instantly. They were like, listen, we're making this album called Ultra. The songs are a little bit different from what we've done before. It's definitely synth based, but we want to bring in the guitars and the drums.
It's beautifully aggressive.
Yeah. We wanted this is our fucking heavy metal.
That's
album.
what I'm saying. Maybe it's not the fact that they couldn't get Flood. Maybe they went, it's gonna have softer edges with Flood.
Apparently I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't heard Shag Tobacco, but I'm going to listen to it after reading this. Apparently Shag Tobacco was just one of these albums that everybody in the music industry heard and went, fuck me, like where did you get that from? And it was because of Tim Simonon or Simon or whatever his fucking name is.
I like Gavin Friday. A lot of people in Ireland and the music industry go, no. I don't know, man. Every time I've heard an interview with him, I can see how people might not, but I don't know. He's the guy he's Bono's best mate.
Besto, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I never met him. I met mates of his and they were arseholes.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know him.
Deep down, past all the rock star bullshit, I have a funny feeling he's sound enough.
He's probably, I'm pretty sure he's been here, but I don't know if I've actually ever met him. Now, there's one thing, when I read it, I was like, holy shit, like, this one, half of the reason I picked him is because the album sounds really good. The song in particular is fucking outrageous. The other half of the reason is he signed a deal in the late 80s with the Bitmap Brothers, who make video games. Yeah.
They make Speedball too.
Yep.
And Chaos Engine.
Yeah. So the Bitmap Brothers, if you are me and Helmet's age, the Bitmap Brothers were like the game developers who made games for people like us.
Yeah, they were like the prodigy of game developers.
Exactly.
They just had that cool...
Like the artwork was fucking balling. The games themselves were balling. The soundtracks were fucking unreal.
There's actually a beautiful art book based on
their stuff.
There on the Bitmap Brothers stuff released a few years ago, and I really want to get it because the artwork alone, the painted artwork, but the games themselves were...
a lot of their covers were done by, I think Glenn Fabry done some, and fuck me, my life, the guy done Slania for 2000 AD. My brain is cabbaged. I had the maddest day in the history of the world
that's
today.
Crazy day.
Yeah, I'm sweating, like my soul is sweating.
It's very interesting.
Today.
We can't talk about it.
We can't talk about it, yeah. So he got signed to do a lot of work with the Bitmap Brothers. He started in a game called Xenon 2.
Xenon 2.
Yeah.
I had the first one. The first one was really good.
A game called Mega Blast. And so he jumped on there and he done the entire soundtrack for that. And he had to do multiple different versions of the soundtrack for Amiga, for Commodore, for fucking Atari, for whatever.
And that's not a simple case of going, right, I want that 8-bit. He probably had to redo every bit
everything.
of that.
Apparently there was there was one that came on like 10 floppy disks that had the actual soundtrack where they had vocals on it. And,
no way.
And then you had like the Atari version which came on 2 floppy disks, which just had this kind of synth lines mimicking the vocals and that kind of shit. So he jumped on and done that. like I said, Shag Tobacco was the fucking one, and then Depeche Mode kind of grew.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to hear that now.
Yeah, I'm very into it. After he finished Ultra for Depeche Mode, he decided to take a break for a couple of years.
I'd say that.
I think that was his first big album.
I was going to say, like, the last one was like that we talked about. Songs of Fate and Devotion was actually, I think, possibly post Violator. God, I'm a big Depeche Mode fan. I can't remember which one.
No, there's too many.
That was when they were like fucking. This was the comeback album.
Yeah.
So maybe these were actually all right with each other by then, not killing each other, overdosing, and.
I think this is the clean album.
Yeah, this was maybe.
This is the clean album. Yeah. Where they'd spend time actually putting songs together.
This is one of the best comeback albums.
Yeah, 100%.
All time.
100%. So he took a break after making Ultra. He was just burnt out. He said he'd worked his bollocks off for like 10, 12 years. He couldn't do it anymore. He took an absolute break. And a couple of years after taking his break, he said, you know what, I might get Bomb the Bass back together again. So we put Bomb the Bass back together again. They played a couple of festivals. He had fun doing it, and he kind of started getting interested in doing production and remixing again. He ended up doing a bunch of work for like, he was the executive producer on Buffalo Stance by Nina Cherry.
That's mad.
Yeah, so he's one of the guys responsible for it.
Sounds brilliant, but not driven.
Yeah. He just does whatever he wants to do. So he done Buffalo Stance by Nina Cherry, worked, like we said, Depeche Mode. He done stuff with Jah Wobble. He done a couple of songs for Sinead O'Connor. He done songs for Seal. He done that fucking big Lightning Seeds album that I can't remember what the fuck it was.
The only album I ever had with him was
Coming
Greatest
Home
Hits.
Shy, whatever the fuck it is.
Coming Home.
Whatever.
It's a funny story about Sinead O'Connor and producers. I would have loved to have been a producer. I think it was about 7 years ago when she had her Facebook and she was a bit...
Oh, she was unleashing the fury on Facebook.
One Christmas day, she went on Facebook and went, I need someone with a recording studio, a producer right now, to record a song I have today on Christmas Day.
Really?
And we're just thinking, fuck, man. I'll give Mick, give Mick from Track Mix a ring.
Exactly. She's, as we speak, she is hunting Blind Boy on Twitter to get onto the podcast. To get onto Blind Boy's podcast.
She should get onto ours.
No.
What are you talking? Sorry, hang on. No, as in no. What?
I wouldn't be able.
You wouldn't be able to have
one of
my favourite artists of all time. Well, I would, so I'm...
You do it on your own.
Yeah.
You can do art. I'll be the last bit. I couldn't do it. Also, Tim, this is real weird, was the executive producer and main songwriter on Naomi Campbell's only album, Baby Woman. Baby Woman. Yeah, Naomi Campbell put an album out and he produced
it. That sounds like a reggae album. Baby Woman.
Baby Woman. Yeah, that's Tim Simonon or Simonon. Who knows how to pronounce it. Who was your next one?
My next one is the big one. They've got to be the biggest one. Next to Berry Gordy, who didn't make the cut for me today, it's Quincy Jones.
Oh.
Like, come on. The reason I picked Quincy Jones is because he's a fucking Renaissance man. He does everything from the ground up. So not only is he I think he has 70-something Grammy nominations. His albums have 70-something Grammy nominations, 28 Grammy wins, including some of his own. And then the only person on this list who has a Grammy Legends Award. Which
Grammy Legends.
Yeah, as in Grammy Legends Award.
Yeah.
He's 60 years in the music industry, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, composer, arranger, which actually, arranger alone is what a big deal at the time, back years ago, decades ago. It still is, but like for what he was doing at the time, people come in and go, right, remember when orchestral stuff was coming into music and people go, right, I need an arrangement for this because none of our band play any of this music, so it needs an arranger. That's where he was really raking it in at the time. He composed the scores for The Italian Job, In the Heat of Night, with Sidney Poitier. The Getaway and The Colour Purple. Sidney Poitier. Could not think of Sidney Poitier's name there for a minute. I was like...
Sidney.
He's also a film and TV producer. He produced, and this is what a song I picked, is Michael Jackson's Get Off the Floor.
I don't like the song.
You don't like that song?
No.
Okay, stupid.
I know.
Stupid opinion, but whatever.
It's too disco for me.
That's beautifully disco, I think is what you're trying to say. Produced 3 of Michael Jackson's best albums. Absolute, no doubt about Off the Wall, Thriller and Bad being the best ones. People say, we talked in the podcast about Red is the Lost Art podcast. I brought up the fact that Dangerous was the one I went, oh, the production is totally different. That was Terry Blackstreet. Fucking hell, my brain's gone to shite. That was when I knew there was a difference between Quincy Jones's production. He's great at producing kids as well.
Like Dave Grohl.
No, he's got like producing kids. He's been married 3 times. Seven children. From,
several teen
from 5
children.
different women. He works closely with Bono from U2 on a lot of different charity events and a lot of charity efforts.
You mean tax write-offs?
Oh shit, son.
Oh no, you didn't.
Oh no, you did. He's released massive amounts of his own music.
No, really?
Yeah,
I never heard of that.
Yeah, no, he has. He's a really talented musician. He started off playing in bands in studios.
Did he keep all the best shit for himself?
No, but he was
just
just a session musician as well at one stage as well. I think.
Imagine his actual albums are like fucking chambers of gold, of absolute hits. Like,
jeez, yeah.
Bet you don't know.
I don't know. He's produced albums for Dizzy Gillespie, Little Richard, and Frank Sinatra.
Oh, well,
he's composed or arranged for Louis Armstrong, Ray Charles, and Count Basie. He said that when you're a producer, I'm going to go into the approach aspect, because at the end of them I wrote the kind of approach or style of that person, and he said that he was asked, "Is there any people that influenced you regarding production?" Initially, he said,
"Jesus Christ, son."
Initially, he said, "No, I hate the way they all worked." But then he gave a few names. Now I'm not going to mention them here because I don't recognize them. This is back in the fucking
way they
60s. You know what I mean? So he is the only person, I have it here written here somewhere, who has to hear this. One of the very few producers who's had a #1 record in 3 consecutive decades. Fuck, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Obviously,
that's a big 90s. Deal,
he wasn't. Yeah. His approach, not musically, because how do you get into his approach to music? He just knows what sounds good. He'll tell an artist, I think he's telling Michael Jackson numerous occasions, do not do that, do not do that, please don't do that, don't do this, do that, yes, go with that, release that, don't release that. His approach regarding handling the musicians was the funniest bit. He goes, you're part babysitter and part shrink.
Yeah,
and you
that makes
would
sense.
be.
Yeah,
you absolutely would be.
Yeah.
He is just one of the most successful people in the industry of all time. Quincy Jones is fucking... Jesus, he's touched so many incredible things. A funny story, before we move off him, because I wanted to put a funny story, because I wanted to try and find stuff about Michael Jackson. He won't really say anything bad about Michael Jackson. He won't even really talk negatively much about him. I wanted to find a funny story about maybe Thriller album or something like that. And the only thing I could find is once Bubbles the monkey bit his daughter, who is Rashida Jones.
Right.
From Parks and Recreation and The Office.
Oh yes, we brought this up before.
She is stunning. You'd know her if you saw her. That's Quincy Jones' daughter. He has weirdly never, and this is so strange. I found this sentence really weird enough for me to put it in. He's never had a studio in his home ever.
Really?
He said he won't do it.
He just goes to other places.
One or the other. That's my house. It's not my studio. So he goes, the recording studio is a sacred and hallowed place, and he always leaves room in the room itself for God to walk through. A lot of bollocks that, but whatever, whatever it is. So look, that's a quick breakdown of Quincy Jones, because it can only be one in a 5-10 minute segment about him in the middle of the producer's podcast. You could do, like you said, 2 podcasts on Quincy Jones alone.
Easy.
The 3 Michael Jackson albums are the sound that defined my youth in a good way. Who's your next one?
RZA Razor.
This album is amazingly produced, to be fair.
I had to pick the RZA. RZA's born in 1969 as Robert Diggs, aka Bobby Diggs. I'm not going to go too deep on Wu-Tang stuff. What I will say is that from 1990 to 1995, RZA is essentially untouchable. Nobody in the world ever comes near what RZA does with like an Akai or a Dat Machine. Like, there's just nobody. After that, it gets a little bit fucky, but essentially everything RZA touches between 1992 and 1995, you got a three-year window where everything is just, it could not be improved upon. I picked 4th Chamber of Liquid Swords by the Jizza / The Genius.
This is your favourite rap album of all time, isn't it?
It's my favourite. It's not even my favourite. if I had to put my balls on the line, if I gave everybody in the world 20 hip hop albums to listen to, and I said, come back to me